Hello, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, tech fans of all shapes and sorts and sizes and persuasions. I guess we're live. I did not prep for this week's show to have the normal intro that we do, so I'm trying one of those video clips that's built into Restream and got real intense and then just dumps you. It just dumps you right into the show. So, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Monday Morning Tech Show on the SGGQA podcast channel. I'm Juan Carlos Bagnell, aka Some Gadget Guy, the SGG of this terribly named podcast series. But the QA, that's the important part, question and answer. And it's never more important than it is on the last Monday of every month. We like to do well, I don't know if we like to do. Maybe people in the chat are like, ugh, we're so over these. But I like to do a pajama podcast, just keep it nice and easy. We're going to break up our normal flow, all of the big, heavy, terrible news stories out there. Just kind of have a chat with the folks in the chat right now. I kind of let that take us wherever we want to go. And then also, you might have noticed that this one's a little different this week as family had a little impromptu travel, some unexpected travel. So we're jetting out and we're meeting up with some family and stuff like that too. But it's a hotel room live stream, which I've been pleasantly surprised. Going through rural New Mexico, we found a hotel room that still did cabled internet in the rooms. I don't know if you all know this. I might be breaking some real big news here, but I got on the hotel Wi-Fi and it was pretty terrible. It was like 9 megabit per second uploads with the enhanced fast, super fast, you paid extra for it Wi-Fi. And then I plugged this thing called an Ethernet cable into the wall and it got 8 times faster. I'm like, what are we doing? This is incredible. If you already have your hotel wired up to be able to plug in these Ethernet cables, they're pretty spiffy. I really think this technology is gonna take off. And I think all these people tired of their slow Wi-Fi's, they're gonna upgrade to these cabled things that get you going a whole lot faster. I have to throw out, I forgot to put out the shout. Because we're doing the hotel room, I couldn't get a good audio sample before we went live. So let me know if audio is weird. I'm still on wireless mics. I probably should have gone to a headset mic, but I'm just too lazy and I hate being cabled and tethered. So that's probably not going to change. We've got a great group of names in this chat already. One Mr. Barry Johnson saying yo yo. We got we got Georgie saying hey to some folks in the chat. We got Roth. We've got Colin Murphy. Hi all from a slightly overcast London, UK. Simon says Hypno. Jimmy Fire Dragon. Rossati is wishing me happy affiliate anniversary. Party hat emoji. Go V8 saying hey. So we got a fun crew in here. Colin Murphy, are you going to cover travel routers in this show? You know what? I kind of got off the bandwagon. So what was it? I reviewed that little portable Asus. I really liked that Asus, and then my itch was scratched, and I haven't checked out competing options because that Asus has been so good. I'm not using it right now because I'm plugged directly into the wall here in this hotel room. But that's been our go-to to travel with. That Asus, I forget what the alphabet soup name on that product is, but I still even use that a lot at home. Because at home I have a switch set up so that it becomes its own isolated network. So when I'm testing out mini PCs, new laptops, anything that kind of like, oh, this might be a little sensitive, or hey, this is a very inexpensive plastic box mini PC, it certainly won't have malware on it. I don't let that anywhere on my actual home network with the NAS and all of our media server and data and back, and my wife's work on our main home network. So that Asus is pulling like double duty it's like it's so fast. I plug in one USB cable. I have a mini isolated private network. I can check out the PC, get it up and running, up and working. That thing has just been amazing, especially if you're a little security conscious or privacy conscious. Like you really should look at your router settings. Not like to say go and buy another router for what I'm doing, but go and look at your router settings, like compartmentalize all that stuff. Have like a little DMZ. Like here's a zone where I'm going to start using a new computer. Then I'm going to test the new computer, make sure everything's cool, and then I'll put the new computer on my main network. Travel routers are a brute force hardware version of that, but your own home router should be able to do some stuff like that too. Oh, Barry Johnson saying the audio is fine. Ashlon saying the audio sounds great. The little air conditioner in here just turned on, so unfortunately you're probably going to hear noise throughout this. I just don't have the same setup, so I don't have the same things. I tried using some of the built-in tools. I'm streaming this on the Microsoft Surface Laptop 7. I did pack my laptop for this travel just because there was so much going on and I needed like proper computer, not just my mobile solutions, and it's a whole thing. But like they have the little MPU features, and I tried activating them with my external mics, and I think it's only if you use the mics in the laptop, then you can enable this audio like noise reduction, voice isolation feature. But then it still sounds worse than if I use something like this as like a little add external microphone. From Georgie saying, that's why I'm using Powerline as Ethernet cables to have internet in the further part of the house. I really need to mess with that a little bit more because I think for our TV and for my wife's home office, they're on different floors. And I think power over Ethernet and getting some of those solutions up and running, if I'm doing a really long cable run and then I want it to terminate to a box like connected to our TV or something like that. I think we're getting close to that kind of solution. Anything that's sort of stable, like it's got a place where it lives in our home, I'm really just wanting to string Ethernet cables now. So the little mini PC that we have behind our TV, yeah, I mean, the Wi-Fi works okay, but it'd be better if I just had a dedicated Ethernet cable running that stretch. Oh, Gabaletta, hey all, shadow watching the podcast and just giving us a little wave there. Michael C, welcome to the Travel Router Hour. I could go an hour on travel on the one travel router I own. You don't want me to do that. Colin Murphy, who's gonna run the book to give a time for the first room service interruption? I wish we could afford to travel to places that like big old room service, wheel in, like the cart, the white linen, all that. Nah, we splurged extra on a little suite where we could have a door that closes between the bedroom and the living room. So we're traveling très fancy. It's not a hotel room. Thank you very much. It's a proper suite. Oh, Usman. Usman? I'm sorry, I probably mispronounced your name 4 times now. Been watching your content since the Pocket nowadays. I don't comment much. Really love your content, especially for underappreciated Android tech. Much love. I'm glad you've been sticking with the cranky old man rants and ramblings and stuff. It's exactly the reason why we liked getting into those kinds of conversations. And every time we bring up Pocket now, it just kind of makes me sad. I got an email. I got an email to my personal email. Like, this is like 3 layers deep. It's an email address that literally only my family and friends have. It's not a public-facing email address. It's not one@somegadgetguy.com. I get an email to the super secret personal email addressed to Pocket Now, and then pitching me on travel and coverage and part of what a company is going to be showing off at a trade show. And it kind of freaked me out because I never used this email for anything. Well, I've never used it for anything Some Gadget Guy. I never used it for anything Pocket Now. And then also, like, Pocket Now is dead. Like, who's doing your PR that they tracked me down, then dug up a very underused, not publicized personal email address, and then was like, well, yeah, that guy used to be on Pocket Now. We'll pitch him. And then you didn't even pitch me. In the subject line and in the greetings at the beginning of the email, it's like Homer Simpson writing a letter to Die Hard. Dear Die Hard, I thought it was cool when that thing blew up and you jumped off the building. Love, Homer. Like, Dear Pocket Now. But you didn't go to any of the Pocket Now email, or like the more recent, like did Jaime get one of these emails? I'd really like to know. I don't know. It's pretty wild. Michael C. Bringing up Pixel 10 pricing didn't make me very excited. They're still sticking with 128 gig for the Pixel 10 proper. Do we want to spend some time on Pixel 10? I don't mind if we want to chat out some Pixel 10. I have exceedingly low expectations, and I'm not excited to be getting that phone. I am gonna get one. I am purposely avoiding anything Google PR. I am not playing ball with any of the former PR people over at Team Pixel. They've burned people like me so badly, and I don't want to feel beholden to making good coverage for them when that's how they're now rating whether or not they're going to work with an outlet. Now it's Google PR internally. They decide who they're going to seed devices to, and they're trying to be like Apple. So if they're pretty confident that you're going to, hey guys, it's super cool and I love my new Pixel, don't pay attention to my Apple Watch, I'm a online tech reviewer, then sure, if they can get millions of hits, then Google's cool with them. But it's not actual coverage. And that's who a good chunk of who Google is going to be sort of seeding devices out to. So I'm going to take my old Pixels, I'm going to sell off all of my old Google gear, and I'm going to use that to subsidize probably a Pixel 10 Pro XL. I think that's what I'm going to go for. But I'm still going to go with whatever's the cheapest base model storage. This is not a phone I'm going to use. It's not a phone I'll be daily driving. And my expectations are exceptionally low. It really does seem like battery life might get a little bit better. It might get a tiny bit more powerful because we're finally walking away from Samsung chips. And I believe the rumors that the telephoto lens might get a close focusing option. That'll make the Pixel slightly more useful for me. And then I'll still probably reach for my Xiaomi 15 Ultra or my Vivo when I really want to do serious photography stuff. I'm not too keyed up on what Google's. I think like the Pixel 9 was the big transition for design. The Pixel 10 is sort of the iteration to manage a more expensive chip, going with a TSMC fabbed chip. And then Pixel 11. Hold on. I'm going to take a quick drink of coffee here. We're going Pixel. We're talking about Pixel right now. I did not expect for us to just jump in like this. This is hilarious. I really had higher expectations that Pixel 10 was going to be a much bigger deal. Hold on. Something just started talking in my hotel room. I think I'm talking loud enough for my daughter's tablet. When I say words like Google, I have like two phones and a tablet in front of me. None of them lit up, but I think my daughter's tablet across the hotel room. Let me tell you, I'm alone in this hotel room. There's a door to the bedroom, and hearing a voice come from the other side of the hotel room, a little concerning. Yeah, like it kind of freaked me out. I really had higher hopes that Pixel 10 was going to be a bigger deal. I mean, think about what Apple did for iPhone X, right? I didn't expect. Actually, this is expectations, right? Expectations got the better of me. I kind of expected Google to I kind of expected Google to copy Apple in that regard. It's kind of a big deal that this is the 10th iteration of a proper Google branded, Google built maybe not for the first couple generations. We know those were LG and HTC joints, but this is their presentation in the market, the phone that they use as sort of the vanguard model, the example of what an Android phone can be. And here we are, the 10th iteration. And they decided to change up their design for the 9th iteration. And like, okay, you made your Google phone look as close to an iPhone as you possibly could. Cool. And now the big difference for the 10th generation is gonna be internal components that we've kind of trained consumers not to pay attention to. I was just talking to my wife this morning. We were chatting, like having some difficulty with a friend. She's been having issues with her carrier, and I'm trying to help her just kind of sort out like phone numbers and getting a new phone and just how undereducated our consumers are. But you can kind of talk car stuff, and vaguely, most people will sort of go with you. A sports car, yeah, that goes fast, and it gets terrible gas mileage. It's just like a cultural osmosis in the United States, car things. And I think companies like Qualcomm have actually done a really good job of like branding their chips. Do you want a 4-cylinder, a 6-cylinder, or an 8-cylinder? There's a Snapdragon 4, a Snapdragon 6, and a Snapdragon 8. Why can't we get consumers to at least sort of tangentially understand some of this tech periphery? And it's really hard to navigate that. But then you get to the situation like the Pixel, and like it's sort of a fine phone, but then you give someone another phone that gets better battery life or charges faster, and they comment on that. We have two people in my family. One is an iPhone convert who ended up on a Motorola, and they don't care that. Oh, and it's I forget which was like one of the Moto G powers. Like they just needed a cheap phone, and someone's like, "Oh, their Motorola's are cheap." But then they plugged it in, and it was charged in like 20 minutes, and the battery lasts for 2 days of their use. And they're like, "But it's a cheap phone," and there's like a cognitive dissonance there. There's like a struggle to put those pieces together. I thought in having the iPhone, I had the bestest phone. But we never told people what you bought with the iPhone was like a little sporty coupe. Is that a great phone to, move luggage, pack up and move an apartment, do heavy lifting, gets excellent gas mileage for hauling, can it tow a boat? The iPhone is terrible at all that stuff. And no, here's this little Motorola, this cheap Motorola, and it's built like an old 1980s Isuzu truck. Yeah, it's not flashy. It's a 4-speed transmission, but you can load up that truck bed, and that little 4-cylinder engine is going to haul a whole bunch of stuff to the county dump when you need to take it. A long rambling way of saying, like, I was just also feeling nostalgic, and I went through some old photos, and I saw a photo of my grandfather's old little blue Isuzu truck, and how he kept that thing running I think he kept that truck running for over 30 years. And like he did most of the maintenance himself on it. And it was just known throughout all of like rural New Mexico. Oh, there's Teen. Just putt in this little blue Isuzu truck. And that thing was brilliant. Practical, amazing gas mileage, utterly functional. And that's to me what like a Motorola G Power is, right? This is a practical daily driver phone. Excellent fuel economy. It's not gonna like play graphics intense games, but that's not why you bought it. Anyway, I really had higher hopes, and that's on me. The expectations got the better of me. Really, Google hasn't put out anything that would have made me consider that the 10th anniversary, the 10th generation of the Pixel was gonna be a bigger deal. I just really did not believe that it was going to come with this much of a whiff. They completely fumbled their initial internal leak strategy. It was going to be a Pixel Superfan event where Pixel superfans would get this like really early sneak peek, and all they had to do was just say amazing, nice things about Pixels and be super fans. Totally grassroots, absolutely not astroturfed by Google PR at all. This is legit and authentic. And I think it's a bummer because I met a lot of the super fans and I feel like they're just being used at this point. These are people who legitimately are let's go Pixel. They are fun, they are vibrant, they get into the nitty-gritty, they dig deep on Pixel, and I feel like Google is kind of using them as a resource to legitimize other astroturfing efforts. That's just me. I don't know. It's people probably think all this stuff is fine. So I came to this and you're like, yeah, of course, everything's been leaked out now. We know it's going to be for the first week of August. We'll be able to pre-order. As mentioned in here, we're talking about $700 and $800 phones that are going to start with 128 gig of storage, which is stupid. So stupid. As a quick tangent, we've moved my daughter into. Actually, I'm gonna grab it just because it keeps waking up and that voice freaks me out when I hear it kick on. But we moved my daughter over, and now her travel tablet is this 8849. So this is the 8849 Tank tab. She's got 512 gig of storage, and we have a 400 gig memory card in here filled to the brim with all of her favorite movies and TV shows, and she's got a killer playlist on here, so she could go offline and watch media for probably 2 days on one charge because the Tank is known for having it's a 20,000 milliamp hour battery. Or she could spend a couple hours using the built-in projector to to show one of her movies, and we actually did that for a while yesterday. Just kind of goofy. The TV in the bedroom didn't work. Hey, wouldn't it be fun if we just used Lexi's tablet with the projector? Hey, wouldn't it be funny if we just used Lexi's tablet with the projector? So this thing, having that memory card, has been kind of awesome. Because I don't know if you know anything about kids, while we don't put Lex in anything public on social media, she has hours of video content. She's done little diaries, talking to the camera. She loves doing these little short movies with her stuffed animals. So her stuffies have these convoluted plots, like she did one, the history of cats. In the beginning, there were only dogs, and then a cat arrived. And she's acting it out with all of these little stuffed animals. My daughter's already cutting in LumaFusion. She's editing her short films. She started by like hitting the pause button in the camera so she could do jump cuts. So she has this one scene where it's like, in the beginning, there were just dogs, and then a cat appeared, and it pops into frame because she does a jump cut. I thought that was really clever, but then I showed her LumaFusion, and she's taken that to a whole other level. I've digressed considerably because I'm so much more excited about things like practical storage and incredible battery life and super fast charging. I think that makes a much bigger deal to consumers. Every time I hand someone a phone, the friend who's having issues with her carrier, she inherited my OnePlus 12R. Needed a new phone, sent it to her, and I'm gonna be really curious because she's coming from an old Samsung, a Galaxy S21, to see when you have 90-watt charging and legit 2-day battery life for her needs. Maybe she might comment on that. So I feel we've really lost the plot on a lot of the higher end premium North American Samsung, Google, Apple. That kind of tech is already kind of stale because they're not trying, they're not pushing the boundaries or the limits of what they're doing. And I think Google has completely fumbled a huge opportunity to sort of build some excitement on this next product launch. It's going to look almost exactly the same as the Pixel 9s, and people haven't been taught to care that things like the chip in their phone is responsible for giving them better battery life and better performance. And I don't know, it's like a smartphone. Who even does things on their smartphones? It's all like super basic. But then you show them fast charging. My wife is not going to get another Pixel phone. Her next phone, as long as the Department of Justice doesn't shut down Oppo selling OnePlus here in the United States because China, her next phone's going to be a OnePlus. The OnePlus watch impressed her so much over her Pixel watch. The fast charging and really long battery life have impressed her so much. Those are the two main features she's looking for her next phone. So right now she's got a Pixel 8 and she's not going to do another Pixel. Unless Google somehow magically discovers that 45-watt charging really isn't that fast. Sorry, I've been rambling for a bit here, and this is supposed to be a pajama podcast where I let y'all jump in and say stuff too. So Michael C., I'm kind of with you. I really feel like Google is showing us that they have no excitement. There's no energy on this launch. They're not leading, they're not doing anything that exciting. They're caught up in whether or not there are going to be more layoffs because they're spending too much money on AI. You're not impressing anyone with AI features on phones. You could have spent all this time teaching people about why your phones were different and how Tensor does this, and look at the things that are on device and look at the things that our services enable. And now for the 10th anniversary, the 10th generation of this Pixel project, do that retrospect commercial. Show us pixels throughout history. Show us, the evolution, all of the nerds who got lit up about the Nexus and switching to the Pixel. And like, they're not doing any of this. None of this is happening. A product 10 years in the making. Like, make the movie trailer, guys. Tell a story. But you can tell they're not that lit up about it. And I feel like we should kind of be sad about that. Like, we're just acquiescing. Like, oh, man, I guess smartphones are cooked, man. I guess they're done. Oh, go V8. Okay, so this is the real stuff right here. I love this. Go V8 writes, I helped my sister set up a travel router and VPN so she could travel without her work knowing. Love that. I think it is so I mean, I'll put the caveat. I've worked in jobs where I had to have government security clearance. I would not want to mess around with that. Like, if I were legitimately working on projects where I needed to ensure some kind of government level sensitivity to the data that I was working with, then yeah, I would probably play nice with the geofencing of my job's requirements. But if your sister isn't working in that level of security, it should not matter. It should not matter. Can I get my job done? Yes? Then cool. Go do your job because you're a grown-ass woman and I'm a manager who respects the output of my employees, and I don't care that you're sitting in front of a nanny cam so I can see that you're moving your mouse around so that you have more productivity. It is maddening to me how insulting all that is. So good job, Go V8. See if you can get her to like encourage some of her other coworkers to join what's going on there. All right, Nick Gay saying, sup chat, let's go SGGQA crew. Oh, Darcy, I love this too. I gutted the new house for reasons, but it did give me the chance to run 3,000 meters of Ethernet. My wife wanted the option of corded phones in any room. I love it. I love it. I wish at some point we're gonna have to do a whole bunch of renovation work in our condo, and we definitely, like, while we're doing other things, we want to like improve the insulation. And when I do that, I'm gonna be putting patch plates. Man, 10 gig routers everywhere. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be real, real good. Command control device saying only Pixel 10 Pro XL is going to be equipped with 256 as the base. Sadly, makes me regret my Samsung S Plus choice less and less. So command control device, I'm just going to put it out there. If you're rocking a Samsung S Plus and you don't use DeX regularly, I think you like spend some equal time with a OnePlus. Because again, every time I give someone a OnePlus, it almost completely neuters any desire for a numbered series iPhone or a Galaxy S or S Plus. Obviously, different when we're talking about an iPhone Pro or a Samsung Ultra. Those are different products, different tiers. Sure, I can appreciate categorizing that, but like what like $1,000 Samsung gets you as compared to like an $800 OnePlus is pretty remarkable competition, and especially for things like fast charging. That has won over so many people. I'm gonna have to have a conversation with my brother. My brother has a Pixel 6a. I don't know if his 6a is in that group of phones that are having issues, but it doesn't seem to matter. Google's probably going to nuke the battery on the Pixel 6a regardless. And it's making me anxious. Like, I've recommended so many A-series Pixels, and thankfully my family has avoided the worst of these battery recalls and these battery problems, but I'm not going to recommend them a $1,200 Pixel instead. The whole point was that they were getting a very, very good phone, mid-ranger price, competitive features for what they wanted to do. And that's not what the Pixels are doing when you have to throttle them to heck because of battery problems. So I think while I still can, we're going to see a few more OnePlus Rs and maybe even a few Nords kind of spreading around the family just until we see what happens. Especially entry level and mid range. As soon as you show someone fast charging, real legit fast charging, it completely changes the conversation. And all this, you can miss me with, well, but I got around my power needs by spending copious amounts of money on extra chargers and Qi pads and MagSafe. Or you plug in your phone every other day for 20 minutes and then just get on with your life. I don't see it, y'all. It really breaks my brain. From Michael C., it will be interesting to see if there's any efficiency gains with the TSMC chip, still a Samsung modem. I believe for CPU-bound tasks, we're going to see a twofold effect. For the normal daily driver stuff, I would be willing to bet that a 10% battery life improvement is completely and totally feasible. Literally just down to the foundry. You take as close to the exact same design as you can, going from Samsung's partnership to partnering with TSMC. I don't doubt. 10%, probably pretty easy. Now, if that improvement is even better though, then at a similar battery consumption, I wouldn't be surprised to see likewise a 15 to 20% improvement in CPU-bound tasks. I think that could be pretty remarkable. But you also kind of nailed it. The Samsung modem might still get in the way. So the modem running hot in your pocket with the screen off, well, that's not CPU efficiencies, right? That's radio efficiencies. And that could still be a problem. So your phone might still drain faster doing nothing, but when you're doing something, I do expect to see an uplift and an improvement. Also, I feel like Georgie, again, you all are kind of cutting to the quick here. I feel like you all could just be hosting the show without me. Georgie saying, Pixel 10, let me guess. AI, AI, AI. Oh, only we're not gonna say AI a whole bunch. We're gonna say Gemini, Gemini, Gemini. I'm so not impressed. It makes me so sad. I've been in so many conversations recently. Again, people who are sort of at the periphery of like investment and stuff like that. And I've been talking to a lot of people saying, hey, this is probably really bad. And if the market for AI deflates too quickly, I still believe this could be as catastrophic to the economy as the 2008 housing crisis. You have so much money going into infrastructure and utilities and zoning, communities having to put up so much money, tax breaks for all of these mega corporations, all of the equipment that you're spending on data center, not just like the servers and the racks, but like the entire infrastructure of the data center and the water and the plumbing and all of this stuff adds up. And then if you just pull the plug, hundreds of millions of dollars in investment just vanishes. Is just, I guess that's gone. You won't recoup it. And if that happens at too consistent a level or too quickly, then the entire infrastructure on that server side economy just deflates like a balloon. And all of that speculative money that we've been bumping up the stock price, like these companies are really $4 trillion market cap companies. Yeah, they're raking in tens of billions of dollars in profit every fiscal quarter. Does that mean $4 trillion valuation? How do you pay off a $4 trillion valuation if your company's making 20 billion in profit every fiscal quarter? How many, like literally, like to build up to a $4 trillion market cap, like let's say that was real money. Let's say he's like, the company has a bucket and inside the bucket is $4 trillion. Well, what would that look like at $20 billion every fiscal quarter? It'd take a little bit. So all of this stuff to me is wildly overvalued, speculative kind of investing. And then if they don't succeed for 1 year, you have too many bad hits, fiscal quarter to fiscal quarter, half year to half year, fiscal year to fiscal year, then investors just dump all their money. It becomes a pump and dump scam. They've been artificially inflating the value of these companies, and then they want to pull their money out before the stock is worthless. So you just don't want to be the last person holding the bag, right? It's the worst game of hot potato ever. From Simon Says Hypno, for the premium prices they charge, Pixels need better camera hardware. So I'm willing to go with you on that because I still feel like Vivo and Xiaomi are giving us really good examples of that. We always want to include Honor and Huawei. So for me, it's kind of the 4/5 companies: Xiaomi, Vivo, Oppo, Honor, Huawei. Companies that are aggressively trying to push camera sensor hardware technologies, the hardware side of the photography equation. So I'm totally with you, and I've been pretty disappointed to see how much the Pixel has coasted since the Pixel 6. But I will say, and this is a very small consideration, I have been pretty impressed with Vivo. So Vivo stepped back to a smaller main camera sensor. It's still technically a tiny bit larger than the camera sensor that's in the Pixel and was in older Vivos like the X70s. But that made me really anxious. They did step it back. At the same time, they also radically improved their telephoto, so it wasn't just, oh, we're going to go cheap, but they passed Google and then scaled back on the main camera to something closer to Google, but still newer. It's still a more advanced sensor than what Google is using in the Pixel, but still, I'm just saying for parity's sake. I have been pretty impressed what Vivo has been able to accomplish. And specifically on the Vivo X200 Pro, not the slightly more expensive X200 Ultra, because that Pro is designed to go head to head with like a Galaxy S priced phone. So we can see like a really good combination of hardware and software can go really, really far. I'm hoping that Google is able to address some of the issues that I have with the Pixel camera at present. I'm pretty confident that they're going to keep lying to people about things like pro modes and manual modes and raw photos. Like the Pixel pretty much just lies to you. And that is one of the main reasons I just won't pick one up. When I need to shoot raw, when I need to shoot with manual focus, when I need to control my exposure, I have to use a third-party app. So if I already have to switch apps, why wouldn't I just go to a phone that has a better telephoto camera sensor? Why wouldn't I go to, I mean, like, I'm already not using the Pixel, I'm using another app. I might as well just not use the Pixel. I actually have a script on this coming out soon because the Pixel camera is really good for what it is. It is the best HDR point and shoot. Don't worry about setting modes and options and filters and stuff. Just point camera in vague direction, push shutter, and put phone back in pocket. It's still the best at that. But the second you want to do a little bit more, I get very upset that their solutions went from no, 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 we're the easy to use camera to, oh, we'll totally give you some pro tools. Don't worry about that. The iPhone did it, so now we have to do it too. But then their pro tools aren't legit. They're they kind of misrepresent what the phone is trying to do. So I'll definitely be digging into that in just a bit. Oh, Joshua, like your words to every other tech fan's ears. I just want an AI free phone. I certainly don't want AI built into my phone. So I want more machine learning. I really like what we can do on device internally in protected little data enclosures and little security buckets. I really like what we can do with an NPU on a mobile device. A little coprocessor that's good at finding patterns and chewing up information and like subject recognition. That's the kind of stuff that I think is genuinely useful, and you can use it anytime, anywhere, any place, any data. So more of that. But if you're telling me that I need to send all of my data up to the cloud over a 5G data connection, which here in rural New Mexico is going to give you about an 8 megabit per second peak upload speed. No, no, that's not useful. That's garbage AI. Yeah, Michael C saying the Pixel 10 proper with 256 gigabytes will be over $1,000, but it will also have the telephoto. It'd still probably tell someone to get a Pixel 8 Pro for 300 bucks instead. They're so similar. I feel like the move from Pixel 8 to Pixel 9 was such a nothing burger. Oh, it got so much better, and Samsung's new radio so much more efficient. I so I kind of backed off doing this stuff in my reviews, and I don't know, y'all tell me if this is something that maybe I need to revisit or explain. But there was a while there where in my benchmarking, I would go hard on multiple locations, showing signal reception to cell towers. I live out in the burbs, so to me it was even more precious that I show this stuff because it's like, hey, if you're a tech reviewer who lives in like a major metropolitan area with amazing data, like you live right under a Verizon, millimeter wave antenna, then yeah, you've got gigabit to your phone. Good for you. I live out in the suburbs where I think I can point to the one cell tower that I can make eye contact with. Like, it's over there. It's across the high school football field, and that was put up recently, so I have pretty decent 5G, but I don't have any LTE to speak of. And before they even started rolling out 5G in that area, I had no LTE because they would have like one tower for an entire community of people. So I pick up the Pixel 9 and I do just a few basic tests. Like I didn't go war driving all over Southern California suburbs to try and find different cell towers, but like pointing out my window, I want to say it was, I can't remember exactly. I don't want to overestimate. It wasn't like a 12 decibel, but I want to say comfortably it was around a 6 decibel difference between my Vivo X200 Pro with a MediaTek radio and my Pixel 9 with a Samsung radio. Now, decibels are not linear, is not a linear scale of measurement, it's logarithmic. So every 3 dB is a pretty significant difference in signal reception. And I was charting just phone to phone in my office, pointing them out the window, same kind of situation, a 6 decibel difference. If you're living kind of out the outskirts of town, or you're living out in the suburbs like I am, or if you're living somewhere more rural, 6 dB absolutely would make the difference between having signal and not having signal. And then if you're in good coverage, 6 dB means the difference between the radio working harder or being more power efficient. So I show stuff like that, and it doesn't seem to gain any traction. It is so much more work to go driving around and looking for this stuff and like trying to work that into the review. And now my review is 22 minutes long instead of 19 minutes long. I have to wonder, like, we're gonna switch up the CPU. We're gonna switch up most of the SoC on the Pixel 10. We will see some battery life improvements there. But if it's a Samsung radio and it's the same general design, the same bands, the same antenna placement, same frame, all that stuff, I don't think the Pixel 10 is going to be significantly better than the Pixel 9. And the Pixel 9 was worse than MediaTek. And MediaTek radios are pretty good, but they're not quite as good in the United States as Qualcomm radios. Like, that's like 4 layers of, well, it's a little bit better, but you know, it's not as good as this, which isn't as good as this, and is definitely not as good as that. And I just don't think people want to hear it. Like, people want me to go out there and say, like, hey, you bought a Pixel and you love your Pixel, and I want you to love your Pixel, so the Pixel's the best, and congratulations, Pixel, and hashtag Team Pixel. And if I say, by the way, your radio's garbage, and a MediaTek radio designed for a European phone is crushing your Pixel 9 right now, all they're gonna do is like look at me like I'm just trying to poop on the Pixel, not like I'm trying to share data. No one else has said that the Pixel radio is bad. My Pixel radio is fine. Maybe your Pixel radio has a problem, or you don't have firmware or something. And it's just kind of all grief. As much as I really want to tackle more grief in my daily life. Okay, sorry. From Simon says Hypno. Oh, August, the month that many lifelong iPhone users make a 1-week switch. Lifelong iPhone user tries Android. Has my mind totally been changed? Simon, that was dirty, and I love it. We were so TK and I and Josh was there, and a couple other folks were there, and I'm not going to shout out the people who were kind of like this, but the folks at Qualcomm set up just like a little mixer. We had a fancy little lunch in Beverly Hills, and it was nice. We know what this is. I seriously doubt Qualcomm is going to like extend invitations for me to go to massive summits or to go to their next Snapdragon launch or anything like that. That their PR likes to kind of keep tabs on what's going on with some of the LA creators, and when there's a hole in their coverage, they can reach out to me, and I can sit there like Loki looking dejected and say, you must be truly desperate if you're looking for extra social media hits from me. We met up, and we're at a Qualcomm event, and you know, a lot of people are flashing their new Samsung Z Folds, and everyone's just so impressed with the thinness, while you know, guys like me and TK are there going like, you know, we've handled X Folds and Oppo Ns, and everyone there was still like, whoa, look at all the cameras. The waiter at Cipriani's came over to my table while I was taking a photo of that cake. You can find that on my Instagram. And he was like, wow, that's a crazy camera on the back of your phone. Without like missing a beat, Josh pipes up and he was like, yeah, it's a camera with a phone bolted to the back of it. And everyone had a good chuckle. I don't think anyone in this chat would be surprised at the number of people who were still like flashing Android, doing everything on an iPhone and looking at their Apple Watch. And I know, like, you're not supposed to change who you are. You're like, oh, well, I'm not going to present for the Qualcomm people. I really do use Apple products, and I really do use the Apple Watch. And, like, that's fine. I bet Qualcomm PR totally understands that. But from people who sort of present as, I'm a well-rounded tech enthusiast reviewer who treats everything fairly and equally and all the same, except that I live out of Apple products, and I occasionally pick up a Samsung when there's a novelty to talk about. When things are wacky and weird, that's when we can talk about Android, because I know no one's gonna buy it because my audience is all iPhone users, and that still seems to permeate a lot of these sort of tech conversations and these tech meetups and stuff like that. So yeah, I know of a few people I was in physical proximity with very recently who will probably post some type of, "Whoa, I'm totally gonna switch for a week." Yeah, Gabaletta. On the one hand, I want another Pixel device as my work phone, but at the same time, the slow drip year over year improvements isn't cutting it for me. And again, it comes down, you're gonna have to get really specific. If signal and battery life on longevity were your concerns, then from Pixel 8 to Pixel 10, I don't know that there's enough there. I'm sure it will be better. I don't know that it's gonna be so radically better that you'll wanna switch from an 8 or a 9 to a 10. Um, if the things that you were wanting to do were a bit more CPU bound, also maybe a bit more GPU bound, going from an 8 to a 10 might make a lot of sense. But the core configuration in the 10, the CPU core configuration in the 9 is going to be very similar, I think, to what we see in the 10. So the improvements might be scientifically measurable, but likely not felt with a significant impact. When we went from the Dimensity 9200 to the Dimensity 9300, it was like we slingshotted over 2 generations of improvements in 1 year. It was like we went from a really good phone chip to having a baby laptop performer in our pocket. It fundamentally changed my expectations on phone performance. If you were to make the jump from like a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 to an 8 Elite, you skip over the 8 Gen 3, similarly, it is so much more capable of those CPU bound tasks, chewing up that data, chewing up that information. It is a sizable leap over that middle generation. It's a noticeable jump from the 8 Gen 3 to the 8 Elite. It's not as stark as MediaTek's jump was, but there's something there. I don't think that's going to happen with Tensor. I don't think Tensor is going to give us this sudden, shocking, eye-opening, wow, here's all the performance that we've been missing. But still, if you wanted the more powerful CPU that can maybe be run at a higher level for longer periods of time, less throttling, because the chipset is, because the SoC is a little more efficient, it's probably going to be better at gaming. So if you do want to play some games on your Pixel, you'll probably get a better, longer lasting experience there. It's just, I don't know. It just feels like Google, Apple, Samsung have been in this like strict holding pattern while every other phone manufacturer is at least trying something. Maybe not all of it's sticking, but I mean, like, garnering so much more respect for like a $200 Lava and a $250 Infinix, because like they're trying to do disruptive things. It's crazy. I hope so. I hope this is true too. And Kuro is saying, I heard the Pixel 10 Pro XL will go up to a 5,500 milliamp hour battery. Because let me tell you, already having that in a OnePlus has been really nice. But here's the problem. If you increase the battery capacity, but you keep the same slow charging, it takes even longer to charge your phone. Whereas this does take longer, the OnePlus 13 does take longer to charge than the OnePlus 12, because the battery capacity went up like just a little less than 10%. But we still have 90-watt charging. So, one, I can leave the house with like 30% on the battery and feel like, yeah, I'm probably going to be fine for most of the day. But then if I do need to top it off, it literally is only like 15 minutes. And then I'm good. And especially if I'm driving, I have a OnePlus charger in my car. So I don't keep the phone plugged in the whole time. I can get to my destination, like, hey, I'm about 15 minutes away from my destination, I'll plug in for a bit. And then my phone is at like 70% when I get out of the car, and you're like, yeah, I'm good. So that's, to me, it's gotta be both. I want the bigger capacity, but I don't want the bigger capacity if it's gonna take 2 hours to charge. That's not gonna do it for me. Sorry, I'm way behind on all these comments. I'm like halfway through. Do do do. Oh, see, and Nick, it's like we've got to play this one precious, right? Nick says, I think skipping the Pixel 11 should be a thought. The only reason for the 10 is to see what the TSMC processor will look like. And to me, that's for a lot of what we've been selling people, and especially for a lot of Pixel users, the SoC is not important, right? We've always had that chat. Oh, well, you're going to get the lowest Geekbench scores, but then you get call screening. Isn't that super cool? And you get Magic Eraser. It's always been a feature comparison, and we've woefully undereducated people on what the chip in that phone contributes to. So Pixel 11 might turn out to be a bigger upgrade all around when Google works out their issues with radios. Maybe they leave Samsung and go to a MediaTek. After 2 years, will they refine the outer shell, or are they going to do a third generation of the exact same look? This is why I'm so disappointed in Pixel 10. We're not seeing bigger fanfare, bigger changes. I think they should have held the Pixel 8 design for the Pixel 9 and then introed the Pixel 9 design for the Pixel 10. Because the Pixel 8 was a really clean looking phone. I think they rushed their strategy. And I think now it's kind of biting them that they don't have anything exciting to show people because people don't care about what's inside the phone. So now the Pixel 10 really is just a Pixel 9S. Well, that's not getting anyone lit up. And they're not even giving people reasons to get lit up. Like, there is no 10 years of Pixel advertisement. How do you not make that commercial? How do you get to the 10-year anniversary of a consumer electronics product and not make the 10-year anniversary commercial? This is ludicrously stupid. You tease it now. Something big is coming. A product 10 years in the making. Big movie trailer voice telling us about. I just can't. I'm way back in the chat, but Scoop said one, so I got to say Scoop. Oh, from Mary. Just dropping in to say hola and give you a like, and I love the Turtles shirt. Got to spend some time with some TMNT. It's good times. Lex and I still haven't finished Splintered Fate. We got to get back on that. I think we let it go long enough that she has a problem going back to the Hades style mechanics as opposed to the classic beat 'em up style mechanics, and it always takes us a little while to kind of get back into the flow. But we gotta wrap it up. And we finished Shredder's Revenge so quickly that now I think she's a little upset that we haven't finished Splintered Fate as quickly. Oh, Nick Gay, I got a buddy still rocking a 95 Isuzu right now. I mean, if you take a little bit of care of them, those things run forever. Those little Isuzu trucks are so adorable. From Gabaletta, my dad was a diehard Samsung, but his S9 was getting extremely dated about a year ago or so. Bought an inexpensive OnePlus N phone, expecting for it to let him down. Now you can't pry it from him. Again, I don't think we're doing a good job of really listening to people when they tell us what they think they want. I think a lot of consumers out there are describing a very basic smartphone experience, but they want things like better battery life. But then we keep selling them the most expensive and the most powerful phones, promising them revolutionary cameras, and then they're underwhelmed. It's easy to be underwhelmed if you spend $1,200 and the phone is super, super powerful, but you're not using any of that power. Like, it's really easy to be underwhelmed if you get someone to buy $10,000 worth of mirrorless camera, but all they know how to do is push the shutter button in full auto. That's what we're doing to people. I really think it would help us if we kind of listened and recommended and spent more time covering the stuff that they say they want. Yeah, and Nick Gay immediately follows that up. Give them the things they need: battery life and charging, storage, and capable cameras. That's a $400 phone. Snapdragon 7 series, Dimensity 7000. That is overkill powerful for most people's needs. And you can still do things like shoot and edit and render 4K video. It's completely capable. Simon says Hypno, like the tank, the 8849 tank tablet. That's not a tablet. That's the monolith from 2001: A Space Odyssey. And monkeys are constantly throwing like severed limbs at this tablet. It's really quite shocking. Michael C. I'm currently using the OnePlus 12R as my main phone, although it was some review unit I won from a channel. 16 gigs of RAM, 256 gig of storage, which technically didn't exist in the US. Oh, you got that one. It's the Genshin edition, though I've never actually played the game. It is cool frosted purple. That's another one I wish OnePlus would bring back Thunder Purple. The OnePlus 6T I still think is one of the prettiest phones they've ever made. Nick Gay. To be honest, Pixel went from technically a flagship killer to flagship trash. If we ignore the fact that the term flagship is utterly meaningless, I feel like Pixel used to be a OnePlus. It's not a flagship killer. The OnePlus 13 does battle with a base model iPhone for price. So like take an iPhone 16 and a OnePlus 13, and price-wise, they're really close. But the features on the OnePlus 13 get you a lot further along. They're closer to most other companies' pros and pluses, the more expensive options in that lineup. So again, you compare it to a Galaxy S Plus, you can probably go toe-to-toe and save about $200 on a OnePlus 13, and there are a lot of things that are better on the OnePlus 13. So none of those are the top most expensive options in a manufacturer's lineup. Like I wouldn't pit my OnePlus 13 against the most expensive iPhone Pro Max, right? I wouldn't necessarily categorize my OnePlus 13 against a Galaxy Ultra. That's a different fight, and it's a different productivity versus entertainment versus mainstream daily driver all-rounder phone, yada, 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 yada. And I feel like the Pixel used to be that, especially like you look at like a Pixel 4, and it would undercut the price of an iPhone, but give you this core smartphone experience that was really compelling, and it would win some battles in really exciting ways. The Pixel 4 specifically was one of the first times we saw Google made a phone that lost all of the Geekbench and Antutu tests, but easily outperformed every other phone for stuff like video. And again, I want to say it was the Pixel 7 did the same thing. For a short period of time, the Pixel 7 Pro was the fastest phone at chewing up 4K video on the market. You could take an app like LumaFusion, which was highly optimized for the iPhone, and the Pixel 7 Pro could embarrass it in finishing up a video project. Now, I think Google is trying to convince us that they have an ultra-priced phone and that it's deserving to be an ultra-priced phone. That's why I always go by price and not by flagship. Flagship only means that's the best phone of that manufacturer. The best phone from Lava is a $300 phone. That's Lava's flagship. The best phone from Infinix, I want to say, is around a $400 US if you do exchange rates, about a $400 phone. That's Infinix's flagship. The most expensive phone from Samsung is now $2,000. I think that we would call the Z Fold Samsung's flagship product. Flagship doesn't mean anything as an experience, but price does. What I expect out of a $400 phone is very different than what I expect out of a $1,200 phone. And Google is telling us they have a phone that's worth $1,200, but they're trying to convince everyone that you should use it kind of like how you use a $400 phone, but it's a little nicer than a $400 phone. So a lot of the people that make their comments about Pixels talk about the Pixel in ways that a $400 phone can not only keep pace, but sometimes beat it. Again, you want to talk about battery life and charging, a $400 phone will probably beat, excuse me, a $400 phone from like a OnePlus or a Motorola will probably beat the Pixel for that $400 experience. But the Pixel costs 3 times more. Alsa Bockley. My girlfriend won't have anything but Pixel. She's adamant. She loves the point and shoot. And the thing is, I think that's totally appropriate. If you know that's the experience you want, you can't really get the Pixel experience on another phone. But it's very likely that she doesn't. A lot of the people that are sitting there thinking, like, I'm going to go get that Pixel Pro because I want the bestest, with the exception of like the telephoto camera, the whole rest of that experience is so algorithmically software services driven. I think it's very difficult to find those different, like my wife has a Pixel 8 and I had a Pixel 8 Pro, and it wasn't until you did like a much longer, like the 5 times telephoto on the Pixel 8 Pro, that there were really tangible and substantial differences in the final output of a photo. I could point to the subtleties of, well, there's a slightly shallower depth of field on my Pixel 8 Pro, but there's a significantly shallower depth of field from my Xiaomi. It is clearly different how those two phones process images. From a Pixel 8 to a Pixel 8 Pro, that difference was a lot closer. It was a lot finer. So I think anyone who's out there saying, well, I need the Pixel and I want to have the bestest Pixel, it's a good opportunity to kind of point them and say, like, are you doing extreme low light photography? Are you doing a lot of photos where you need extended reach? Like you really do need super zoom way out there at the end of the telephoto. And if not, I really feel like a lot of people could save money and not notice any tangible differences going down to a number or even a Pixel A series. But now we got to be careful, because if you buy a Pixel A series, maybe the battery will explode on you. Georgie Wan is converting everyone over to China phones. Joshua was asking, what are your thoughts on the Andrew Edwards post about OnePlus? I don't follow Andrew Edwards, so I don't know what he said about OnePlus. I don't know. If someone wants to link it, I don't know if that's... Just getting me to comment on what other people say is usually a losing proposition, because all that means is we give... Let's say he said something and we really disagree with it, then me talking about it just gives him more attention, and it encourages more people to check out his social media posts. And then if people argue with him, it gives him more exposure, and it gives him more visibility, which makes him more profitable. So then it just increases the number of posts that we don't like to engage with, but we will because we're going to argue. And that's what social media does. So I have no idea what he said. If it was cool, then awesome, then I agree. If it was dismissive or argumentative or a hot take, then just ignore him. From Nick Gay, I do want to ask the chat, does OnePlus need an ultra tier device? So I'm going to answer for myself. I don't think OnePlus needs one, especially here in the United States. They are struggling to kind of keep market share and do their advertising and marketing and get people to buy their phones directly, because that's not how most Americans buy their phones. But I would certainly like to have at least the Find 8X Pro here as a OnePlus 13 Pro. That was a stupid fun phone to use. It is almost exactly a OnePlus 13 with an extra camera sensor, better telemacro capabilities. It was really nice. The Find X8 Pro, I think, is still leading my charts as the all-time absolute fastest phone I've reviewed in 2025. I mean, it's scary powerful what that phone can do, and it has outpaced every other phone I've reviewed. Like what Oppo is letting you do with that chip, because usually OnePlus is a bit more managed, but Oppo has this Find X8 Pro, and they let that Dimensity just go hog. Video editing, audio rendering. I think it mixed down an hour-long podcast in recorded WAV files, squished it down into 128 kilobit per second MP3, an hour of audio in something like 40, 45 seconds. So I've been talking for a little over an hour. My laptop cannot take an hour of audio. My X Elite, no, not X Elite, Snapdragon, yeah, X Elite. My Snapdragon X laptop here cannot take an hour of audio and squish it all down in 45 seconds. That is ludicrous. It was the absolute fastest phone I tested for file compression. So all those times that you're like, oh, let me send this to like a cloud service, or I'm gonna upload this photo, and it takes a little bit longer than you think it should. Part of the reason why is it's likely doing some kind of image compression. So when you have faster file compression, all of those like web and transfer enabled services, those get faster too. Like point for point for point for point. It like the absolute fastest finishing time I ever had for a batch of 200 raw photos. Like silly. So I don't think OnePlus needs it. But I really wish we had it. I really wish we could just get a label swap. You just take the Oppo Find X8 Pro, you take the sticker off the side of the box and you put OnePlus 13. You leave the Pro and you have the OnePlus 13 Pro, and that would be awesome. I would really like to see that. Yeah, Michael C was just kind of confirming Pixels used to be priced a lot more aggressively back, like Pixel 7 versus the S22. Sorry, I'm way behind on the chat, so I'm trying to catch up here a little bit. Lalouch is saying, hey Juan, looking to get either a Galaxy S10 5G or a Note 10 Plus, which would you recommend? Man, if you're going with the older phones, it really just depends on S Pen. If you think you'll use the S Pen, then it's a no-brainer. If you don't, then I think the S10 probably would end up being a little cheaper. But that I really don't know. I haven't looked up stuff like that for a while. But again, S Pen or no S Pen, I think is kind of the question. Oh man, this is great. Oh, and is this Iran? Aaron? Sorry, I'm trying to read on a slightly smaller screen than I usually host the show on. I absolutely love my Asus Zenfone 10. It's small, powerful, phenomenal battery. The later revisions are all large. Do you think we'll get good small phones in the future? I think we'll see. I think we'll see a few holdouts, but I don't think they're going to be truly small. I think what we're going to all agree on is kind of the Galaxy S form factor. Again, kind of like the smaller iPhone Pro sized, like Xiaomi. The Xiaomi 15, great smaller phone. It's not small, but it's a smaller phone. I think that's kind of where we're going to end up. I think there are going to be fewer and fewer of the mainstream options for things that were like what I would love is an option for something like an Xperia Compact again. I don't think those are we're gonna come back to those anytime soon. A more manageable one-handed device, that I think we'll still see some follow through on. I also have the Vivo X200 FE. So it's not quite a mini, but it's a smaller form factor phone. It's even smaller than the X200. So I think we'll still see a few. It's just sometimes we might need to get a little creative with which companies we're shopping. Like if it's, I need to import this Vivo because that's kind of the experience I want, that might be what we need to do. Oh, and Barry, the OnePlus R series, super solid recommendation. I think getting some of my family members off of Pixels. My mom has been rocking a OnePlus since the OnePlus 6. Like, she's kind of been that one who's like, oh yeah, everyone around me has Pixels, but I've got my OnePlus, and my phone charges so fast. I can go 3 days on a charge with my OnePlus 6, but it also only takes like 15 minutes to top off the battery. So I think like if I kind of nudge, like my siblings, if I kind of nudge them in that direction too, since none of them are super into their phones, like yeah, you could buy a Galaxy, it's gonna be like $800-900. I mean, you can wait for your carrier to try and have some kind of deal or sale if you don't mind being locked in on your carrier, but You could just buy this OnePlus 13R outright, and it's a ludicrous piece of technology for the price. Yeah, see, Gabaletta right there. My daughter loves how fast her Moto Edge charges and the fact that it has the faux leather back instead of glass. Absolutely. From Ankaru, one, have you tested the X8 Ultra? So I've handled it. I've shot no less than 17 photos. Yeah, about that. But I haven't, like, it's not in my possession right now. It's just because I bounce around a whole bunch of other tech reviewers that I've gotten to play with one. And again, it feels a lot like a Pro with bigger camera sensors. I really like what Oppo is trying to do there. So I think the philosophy still remains that I think the best sort of more auto polished experience is on Oppo. I think Vivo has sort of the broadest overlap. If you want to go full auto, I don't think it's as good as the Oppo, but it's still really good. But if you want to dig into the more manual control stuff, it's good, but it's not as good as a Xiaomi. Xiaomi, I actually think, is kind of fallen behind on a lot of the auto stuff. Like what they're bringing forward in their app, their sort of initiatives on color and processing and filters and stuff like that, I don't think is as good. And they're definitely not doing as heavy-handed AI sharpening. Like when you use the zoom, it gets blurrier faster on a Xiaomi than it does on a Vivo. But then if you look at the Vivo image with any scrutiny, you can see how edited the photo is for sharpness and structure. So I think that's kind of like Pixel is the full auto phone. Oppo is closer to the full auto experience. Vivo straddles that, I think, the best. Xiaomi really shines. When you start shooting manual on a Xiaomi, it is like you're handling a mirrorless camera. The phone really rewards you for taking more initiative on your images. And then like classic Sony is the best example of that. Like a Sony Xperia 1 Mark V, those apps were like, they could have been pulled out of a Sony Alpha camera. So that's kind of the spectrum that I consider that. And the Ultra is right there, sort of at the more auto side, but still just an absolutely stunning photography experience, at least. Oh, Philip, I would love to dig into this a little bit more. What are your thoughts on the Nothing Phone 3? But I haven't handled one, and I kind of blew my speculation on it when it was being announced, where I'm not particularly impressed by the aesthetics, and that becomes one of the major aspects of the phone. So I'm kind of the wrong guy to chat about that without having used it. I'm kind of the wrong guy just to chat about it guessing, right? Not having handled it, used it, whatever. Maybe there is something more to this phone that I'm just not seeing because I haven't gotten my hands on one. But for me, it's a really difficult ask against a phone like the OnePlus 13R. I think the pricing puts that phone in the context of a conversation where, I mean, you could also probably get right up alongside the OnePlus 13. You could probably get, depending on where you live, what region, you could compare the Nothing against a Vivo X200 Pro. There is no there is no situation I could ever foresee myself being in where I would say, oh, I'm so happy I have the little ticker display on the back of my Nothing, and I'm okay with not having the incredible cameras from my Vivo X200 Pro. So I can't contribute more. Like, all I would do was just trash talk it more. I really do still want to use one. I just don't feel like there's going to be much there at that price when I really like what specialty phones do. Obviously, it should be pretty clear from any of my commentary. I put a lot of weight on the cameras, not because you need to have the best average consumer photos, because the best average consumer photos stop at around $400. I like having the best cameras on a phone because I am trying my darndest to stretch that camera past what I normally rely on my mirrorless cameras to do. Because if I can buy a $1,200 phone that lets me keep, thousands of dollars of camera equipment at home, I'd rather just spend $1,200 on a phone. That's that's good for me. So anyway, I'm sorry. I'm being real precious and silly and snarky and stuff like that. But I, I wish I could say more, and I probably won't have anything more to say until later in the year when I can maybe just grab someone's loaner. Because again, all these other people who wanted it because they got the immediate like traffic out of the enthusiast community, I don't see a lot of people are really going to be living out of those phones. Go to all of these Android publications and like, I tried the Nothing phone as my daily driver and it shocked me and it's such a great phone. And that guy's already back on his iPhone. I mean, we know what this game is, right? So I know that they're in about another month, once people have finally squeezed all the juice out of that orange, I should be able to score some loaners or some really cheap Nothing Phone 3s used, and then I can kind of go from there. So it's pretty great. Hold on, let me drink some water real fast here. All right, let's see. Dagon is saying, I'm using the Vivo X200 Ultra right now. It's the best cameras and algorithms in the phone. I used Pixels in the past. It's a caveman camera phone. Oh, I'm a caveman lawyer. I don't have anything to fault you there. I think the top two solutions this year are the Vivo and the Xiaomi Ultras. I can tell you why I prefer my Xiaomi Ultra over my Vivo, but immediately anything I would say is kind of irrelevant past my personal bias. If my bias lines up with your bias, you might agree with me that the Xiaomi is a better fit for you. But if your bias doesn't align with my bias, then the Vivo X200 Ultra is an absolute monster. And it is categorically one of the best complete photography experiences on the market today. It's a brilliant device. Because I prefer my Xiaomi just a little bit more, I am very well sated with the Vivo X200 Pro being my backup. If I go out with two phones and I've got a Vivo X200 Pro and a Xiaomi 15 Ultra, I am in the most glorious era of photography phone overkill. Don't be like me. Don't collect multiple permutations on the same solution. It's not worth it. It's really not good. Oh, what's up, WX Romer? Hey Juan, better late than never. I'm glad you arrived. I'm way behind on the chat. I think you posted that like 30 minutes ago. Gabaletta saying people still act dumbfounded whenever I use my Xiaomi 14 Ultra. They have no idea what to expect, but the second I tell them it's from a Chinese company, then the phone becomes garbage. And I stopped telling them. I was like, well, this is an international phone. It's sold overseas. We can't get it here, blah, 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 blah. And also, it embarrasses your Galaxy and iPhone photos. So it's pretty great. I mean, it'd be nice if Americans could get good phones, but Google, Apple, Samsung, they've got this market tied up and they put all the pressure on the carriers. So now we can't get cool stuff. I hate that that's the way it is. If you just never mentioned China. Oh, Barry Johnson talking about the measurement tests. I think it's important to show tests in your area. In my area, all of my phones are good. It's not very helpful to evaluate the true performance in so many areas. My last sentence should have said it's important to have tests done in so many areas. And I appreciate that. It's just, to me, it starts to become one of those things where if I present that data, I'm pretty confident I'm going to get those replies like, well, it's probably just a you thing. It's probably just your problem because my Pixel's great and my Pixel never has issues. And I've never compared my Pixel to another phone, so I don't even know if the Pixel does things differently. It's just perfect for what I do. And I just don't want the grief. Oh, command control device. Yeah, I mean, this is a good point too. The reason why Samsung modems and Pixels are so power hungry are because they're external. Samsung in their own Exynos processors integrates their modems with lower theoretical max speeds fully into the SoC itself for lower power draw. Well, I know that was the problem going from Snapdragon 855 to the 865, was it also made the whole setup more expensive. So especially on this last generation of Tensor, you had a Samsung SoC and a Samsung modem, and that actually makes the whole package more expensive because you're having to buy separate components. Whereas opposed to just sort of bundling all of that into one SoC, we saw Qualcomm raise prices. So you've got this great Snapdragon 865. Sure would be a shame if you can't connect to any cell towers. Now you also need to buy this extra modem. So it was like the SoC got a little more expensive because it's a more powerful chip, but then you had to tack on the additional cost of that separate radio. And so yeah, that makes perfect sense, and probably another situation where like Samsung's not going to integrate tech into TSMC's foundry pipeline. It's still going to be a separate component. Oh, and WX Roamer, it's known that Tensor does struggle with connectivity at times, especially when switching. They are not the best by far. I just feel like if we know this, why doesn't it become a bigger deal? When we had all those Intel radios and iPhones, where were the reviewers saying, hold on to your current iPhone? This model, your iPhone, is not great for connection. Where were all the tech reviewers when the iPhone 12 came out? And Apple in their presentation said 5G like 100 times during their keynote. And then when the phone was out in the wild, carriers were telling their customers, oh, if you want your battery to last through the afternoon, you've got to turn the 5G off. And everyone was still like, oh, but you know, iPhones. And if you're an iPhone fan, you got to buy your iPhone. When if you had gone from iPhone 11 to iPhone 13, you would have had a brilliant experience. But anyone who landed in that iPhone 12 era got like the worst of the performance, the throttling, the smaller battery, and a 5G that carriers recommended you disabled. So, where was the market correction from the media? Where were the reviewers saying, hey guys, just hold on? Like, if they can manage this better with some software updates, don't buy the phone yet. Let's see if they can fix this in software. If they can't fix this in software, we'll hope to see that they can fix it in hardware for the iPhone 13. And that's a reasonable thing to say. But you know what? If you're a big channel and you do a lot of Apple coverage and you go to a lot of Apple events, well, then you're not allowed to criticize Apple. You have to keep saying only nice things and you should buy it because it's Apple and it just works. So that's why we keep getting stuck with this stuff. Like from Team Pixel to Google's selection of media coverage, how many people are going to come out there and say like, hey, yeah, the radios here are still not great. If you're worried about connectivity, you might want to buy a Samsung. If you're worried about signal and reception, you might want to buy a OnePlus. We just can't get over charging. Apple, Samsung, and Google all suck for charging speed. Maybe you should look at a Motorola. Like, where is anyone who's going to say that in their video? Oh, well, I mean, if you care about fast charging, then yeah, I mean, you could shop a OnePlus, I guess, if you like garbage. But I mean, obviously, the companies that spend the most on marketing make the best phones. Because, you know, Google now spends like $2 billion a year on marketing devices and services. So, like, that makes me more money. So you should buy the Google. All right. I'm like, I keep trying to catch up and you guys are leaving awesome comments. I'm gonna have to skip a whole bunch of this and I am so sorry because there were some really great comments. Morlock saying one and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, how much better can your Monday get? Uh, Steve's Web at 63. I have the S24 Ultra and use its features. However, my wife uses my old Note 10 5G and loves it. She uses it for social media and light gaming. I would like to applaud you for keeping an incredible phone in active use, in active service. That Note 10 is delightful. From JGJ, do you think Carl Pei drove OnePlus culture initially? I'm just not into the color OS paradigm. Well, yeah, I mean, the whole point Carl Pei was is that he had an agreement with BBK. And so he was getting to kind of put phones together using their parts portfolios. BBK used to be the umbrella partnership between Vivo and Oppo. That I do believe that BBK arrangement has been concluded. They are now more separate companies, and you can kind of see that in some of their device strategies. But they initially launched with like cyanogen mod support and stuff like that. So I think initially that was the idea, that OnePlus was going to be this tiny, plucky enthusiast solution. And then they started making more money and finding some mainstream audience, and then that built, and then that grew. And I'm kind of on board. I think the Color OS era of OnePlus makes for a better phone than a better mainstream product than where we were during the Carl Pei era. And that's why I get a little anxious about nothing, because I see a lot of the same plays from that playbook. A lot of the same strategies, just, oh, well, we're really building it on the enthusiasts, the small little group of people that are really excited about a smaller niche player in this market. And if it gains any traction and if it builds any momentum, you have to know that the pivot will eventually be to sell more phones mainstream. So whatever makes the nothing kind of special and unique today will eventually get watered down and be more just an aesthetic choice going into the future if it starts to build market share. So, oh no! We're in this hotel and now someone's vacuuming right outside the door. This is, again, not as bad as like the podcast where I had hammering and roof reconstruction happening, but still pretty loud. From Michael C. Wow, I never noticed. I guess I don't do a whole lot of low light zoom photography. I did use the astrophotography mode, but that was almost always best with no zoom at all. Again, if you're not using telephoto sensors, don't buy phones with telephoto sensors. From WX Romer, what other Android phones have the phone screening capabilities that the Pixel has? Google has kept that a unique Pixel feature. It's a software service that could be incorporated into Android proper, would be a massive selling point for all Android devices. And I think Google strategically is correct in keeping that a feature on the Pixel. It means you'll want to use a Pixel to reduce like scam calls. But I gotta say, like, the experience I have on my OnePlus is still better than what my wife deals with on her iPhone. Her Pixel is better at filtering out the last bits of garbage that I get on my OnePlus, but the iPhone just gets everything. Her work iPhone is just constantly notifying her to phone calls and texts that are absolute scams. So at least in that regard, my OnePlus has been better. From Enrico Vids, my dad has a 6A, my mom has a 7A. They just use it as a point and shoot camera and barely for anything else. They want to upgrade. Thinking about waiting for the 10A might give better battery than the 9A question mark. The nice thing is you're in a great position, Enrico. So we've got the 9A out now, and we've got pretty good data on what the 9A can do. So then the Pixel 10 is going to come out, and you'll get to see and really look for the Pixel 10, not the Pixel 10 Pros. Because something tells me Google is probably pushing the number cheaper. So the component choices, the battery choices, the screen choices, the camera choices, a lot of what's going into the Pixel 10 is going to veer you closer to a 10A kind of experience. So we get the chip, and I have to believe that Google is binning these chips hard. That means the chips that perform the best are going to go in the Pros, and the chips that perform okay are going to go in the 10, and then the chips that are great and functional but do not meet the same standards are going to go in the A series. I know Google is like, oh, well, we're not too aggressive about binning chips, and that's horse poop. So really try and track down those reviews on the Pixel 10. And then when the 10A comes out, we can make some better guesstimates. And if the Pixel 10 isn't doing anything dramatically better, when the 10A comes out or is closer to getting launched, you could probably get Pixel 9As for almost nothing. People getting rid of used ones, or carriers trying to dump what they have left, or even just like full retail, there will be sales on the Pixel 9A. I think waiting is absolutely your best strategy. You'll get good data on the new chip. You can see what the strategy in the market's going to look like. The new phones might be a little bit more expensive, and then people will want to get rid of their older phones. You'll have great options for either going 10A if you like what you see, or getting 9A on a bargain. That would be my strategy there. Um, Yeah, command control device. I don't think so. I wonder if desktop Android will unofficially get ported to the X Elite once Google finishes the merge of Chrome OS and Android. We're just getting some good traction on Linux builds for the X Elite. I think it'll be a while before we see some sort of like Chrome. What is that called? That project? Like, a lot of people are flashing Windows 10 machines over to a version of Chrome. I think it's going to be a little while before we get all that for X Elite. The Morlock. OnePlus charges faster than your mom. And my mom is actually one of those people who makes jokes like that. Like, oh, well, I'm already done charging. Oh, Michael Peppertech, that green Vivo X Fold 5. Me want it so much. I love it. Now, I don't know if you know this, but it's zero point 0.1 millimeters thicker than the Z Fold, so it's really kind of garbage. Now, it's got better cameras. It's got a significantly larger battery. It's got radically faster charging, but I don't think anyone will be able to hold zero point 0.1 millimeters more thickness without vomiting in their mouth. So really, I think I just think, you probably don't want that X Fold because that's icky. Zero point 0.1 millimeter. I mean, like, how could you even hold that with your hands? I think Samsung had it right. Oh, let me try and get down. I'm almost caught up with the chat here. Aditi Anil, honestly, all that the market needs is more marketing. Forget the phone, throw it all into making ads and convincing YouTubers. Convincing YouTubers. Oh, Paltrax. Okay, so I'm way behind on this. Speaking of the turtles, how about that last Ronin? I just bought the entire run because there have been three. It's Last Ronin, Evolution, and something else. I can't remember. But I on this trip, and especially when Marie's going to be driving, I can't read in the car for very long before I get violently motion sick. But I'm trying. I'm going to try and get through any spare minute I have. I'm going to be reading Last Ronin. Um, I've always loved the idea, and I've never gotten around to it. I spent more time than I should have collecting the original run of TMNT. It's in tatters. I read it so many times and it's practically disintegrating, but I have a fourth print of the very first issue of the original Eastman and Laird Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I had all the rest of that series in these old paperback bound graphic novels. And those were falling apart. Pages were faded. One of them I'd spilled stuff on, so it was all warped and like pages were cracked and glued together. So I've gone through and replaced the entire original run of Eastman and Laird's TMNT. And I was reading the IDW series, and I like it, but I'd really love to see a continuation of the Mutant Mayhem storyline. That's what I want to see in comic form. Is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film Mutant Mayhem? I just thought was such a lovely reboot of the story to make it more modern, but then also to finally give the turtles a happy ending was like shocking and eye-watering to me. My daughter's like dancing in the aisle to the end credits music, and I'm quietly like sobbing in the corner because the turtles have never gotten a happy ending where they could just be accepted as kids. And here's Mutant Mayhem, produced by Seth Rogen, and I'm sitting here sobbing like a blubbering man-child. Because they finally get to have friends. They get to go to school because they're kids. The kids have been so alone. I was in a rough spot when I saw Mutant Mayhem, and the movie really helped me. So Last Ronin is now finally in the queue for me to give it a good read. From Juan Carlos, fellow namesake Juan, any phone coming soon would you say be worth getting? Um, well, I mean, the answer is always yes, but the answer is always yes, but I feel 2025 showed us every phone that came out in 2025 was not categorically better in every way. A Galaxy S24 Ultra to an S25 Ultra, the S25 Ultra gets a few features that are better and then leaves a few features off that you might have liked on the S24 Ultra. It's not a one-to-one improvement across the board. I love holding up this Xiaomi 15 Ultra, but if you have the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, there are a couple features on the 14 Ultra that are better than the experience you can get out of the 15 Ultra. I think we all need to get ready that 2026 is probably going to not only be similar, but even more divisive for our devices. Like if I pick up a phone from 2024 and I pick out a phone from 2026, it might not be improvement all around. The phone from 2024 might still do some things better than the phone from 2026. So I think we really just need to get more and more and more specific about the kinds of experiences we value. I'm willing to make compromises on these things if I get the features I want on those things. And that's the only way to judge moving forward from here. I do not believe we're going to see manufacturers just come out across the board. Hey, here's my OnePlus 14, and in every single way, it is better than the OnePlus 13. Because I promise you, OnePlus 12 to OnePlus 13, there are still times I wish I had my OnePlus 12 on me instead of my OnePlus 13. It's just the way it is this year now. I think that's what we've got to be prepared for. A lot of techies are just going to want to say, well, one number bigger, that means it's better. Well, your older phone was garbage in the past when it was older, and now your new phone is the same way. And so now this is the S26 is better than the S25. Use my affiliate code when you shop your S26 so I can get money for telling you what you wanted to hear, that it's better. And that's not going to be it. I think we're going to see a lot more compromises as we see more global instability in electronics and shipping and tariffs and distribution, in licensing, in regulatory actions. Companies aren't going to want to do business in the same markets if they're facing scrutiny. Like, I think everything's going to get a bit more expensive, and it's not a foregone conclusion that all of those price increases are coming from improved technologies. So to keep prices from getting too crazy, we're gonna see more compromises. I hate being the bummer, I hate being the wet blanket, but that's all I can see. This year was like every single phone. I love this, I love this, I love this. I wish I had this from last year's phone. And I don't remember that being the same way. Like going from a OnePlus 11 to a OnePlus 12 was all good across the board. Going from a OnePlus 12 to a OnePlus 13, there are a few things I miss. It's not always a great feeling. Michael C. I don't know if this is true. I'm not verifying this comment. I am not including this comment in my show because I think it is absolutely 100%. And if someone has a link to share, I don't want to read it, but I will. Michael C says Carl Pei was openly talking about how much he loves the Cybertruck and that it influences the way he designs phones. And he was kind of into NFTs for a while too, forced scarcity for promotions. So if you tell me that the inspiration for your new consumer electronics product was derived from something like the Cybertruck, that is gonna be the fastest way for me to go, then I should not buy your product because I think that is a terrible example of design and function, aesthetics, the form and function of that truck are not good. So I don't know if that's true, if Michael C is doing that just to kind of ruffle my feathers or not. But um, that's that's hilarious if it's true. Uh, from Serge, did anyone see the post on Jerry Riggs' Twitter account yesterday after he dropped his Galaxy Fold 7 video? Seems like Samsung US pissed him off. I didn't. I don't know if there's any drama going on there, but I know TK Bay. We were up real late, just kind of messaging, and then he sent me a flurry of videos on TikTok. That apparently he watched one, and then TikTok just filled his feed with people that had problems with their new Fold 7. And like one of them was like almost seizure inducing strobe lights like flashing into the camera. It's like 2 days with my Galaxy Z Fold 7. Thanks, Samsung. And it's this completely obliterated inner display, just like flashing and broken and busted and stuff. So again, I don't know if there's anything there, but I don't follow Zach much. I really don't have patience for gadget destruction videos. I don't think they're informative. I really don't think they're entertaining. I don't think you learn anything about a bend test. I think after a point, you're like, if you try to intentionally damage a phone, you'll probably succeed. But I also like, I can do this where, oh, I'm totally trying to flex my one. Oh, see, like my muscles are really going. OnePlus 13. Ah, I couldn't break it. That means it's a durable phone that you should consider shopping. What are you learning from that? And don't you notice, like on some phones, he's really good about like pressing right into the middle where you have the best structural rigidity. And then on some phones, he loves to line his fingers up right under the camera housing, which would obviously be one of the cutouts on the frame where you would likely not have the best structural rigidity. So there's no consistency in a hand bend test. And it always seems to play out like a phone that likely seems to be more popular gets a consideration that a phone which is less popular would never get. When LG used adhesives on their batteries, I think back in the LG G7 days, someone correct me if I'm wrong, he point blank said, you should never buy a phone that does this. That is so hostile to repair, and this is dangerous, and this is a terrible thing. I am putting LG on my poop list. You should never buy one of these. And then literally the next Samsung he handled, I was disappointed to see some adhesive, but all you got to do is get like some chemicals in there and that'll pry and get a pry tool and you can pop that battery right out. So after he did that, I immediately put him in the category of I break phones because people like to watch me break phones. You're not learning anything. If you want to learn stuff, you should follow people like Tech Potato for the silicon industry. You should follow dudes like Hugh Jeffries, who are doing the best investigative journalism on disassembling phones properly to see if the company is blocking your ability to repair them. And you should be following an outlet like iFixit. I love iFixit because like every gadget gets the white glove treatment. Look at the iFixit video on the new Sony headphones. I did not know that they would be as repairable as they are. If I need to swap out a driver, if I need to put in a battery, that's something I could do with like a guitar pick and 15 minutes of my day. Do you know how happy that makes me? Like the death of my Bluetooth headphones won't come from the battery. But like you would actually have to be curious about your gadget, not just want to see the gadget get destroyed. So I'm glad that Zach has been a commentator and has brought light to repairability issues, but the actual content derived from those kinds of conversations to me has just been a step above will it blend. Do you care what happens to the screen when you put a lighter on it? What did you learn about handling that phone? Oh, I've scratched it and glass scratches and glass breaks. And like, okay, cool. That's kind of been where we've been. Are you gonna maybe teach us about like the actual hardness scale and find examples of phones with like sapphire or watches? Like this watch, my OnePlus watch has a sapphire crystal display. Like I'm not learning anything here. That's not entertaining for me. I don't know. I'm sorry. I know I'm rambling again, and people have brought up Jerry Riggs everything on my podcast in the past, and I'm not. If you enjoy Zach's channel and you enjoy Jerry Rig everything, like cool. I want you to like your stuff, but like it's kind of like I like actual Olympic wrestling. I also really like professional wrestling. I'm not trying to make the two the same. I'm watching one for a kind of appreciation for athleticism in a sort of a disciplined sport, and I'm watching the other for an explosive presentation of athleticism in the most spectacular performance art kind of way. I'm not trying to say professional wrestling is the same kind of thing as Olympic wrestling. I'm not trying to say like you can learn a lot from Zach, but I think you'll learn a lot from Hugh Jeffries, iFixit, or even like Louis Rossman if you like your gadget repair commentary a little spicier. Oh, Goat V8, same. I can't wait for the last Ronin game. I hope it's good. I mean, again, I'm getting. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games have been so good. If you haven't played all the way through Shredder's Revenge, it's that classic arcade beat 'em up. And if you haven't played through Splintered Fate, this is going to be sacrilege. This is a hot take. I don't believe anyone else on the internet will really go with me on this. But I love Hades. So Hades is the number one when it comes to this flavor of roguelite action combat, kind of a top down, you get sort of a Diablo style fix. But I like TMNT Splintered Fate better than I like Hades 2. So from Hades, I don't go to Hades 2. From Hades, I go to Splintered Fate. Now I am still playing through Hades 2, but I got Hades 2 is so good, but Splintered Fate is Ninja Turtles with brilliant couch co-op. It's so good. So if you hadn't, I mean, like, yeah, we're all waiting for Last Ronin. I really hope Last Ronin is good. But while you're waiting, if you haven't played through Splintered Fate, you should really give it a run. It is so good, and it's so good at like I've got 15 minutes. Let me just get through a couple little levels, and I'll just kind of contribute to a run, and then I can put it back down again, and I've gotten a little fix, and it's delicious, and I can kind of get on with my life. Or like I've got an hour. Let's really grind a couple runs if I can. It's great. I can't say enough nice things about it. Yeah, Steven, also, I'm waiting for that last Ronin game to come out. Do, 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 do. Command control device. There's always going to be the next Dimensity 9000 series, the next 8 Elite generation, the upcoming Sony 200 megapixel sensor. Lots of stuff to get excited about. It just needs to see where it all lands. And I think that's a very like that's kind of the truest point is we're all kind of waiting to see where this stuff ends up. But I still feel like we lose a lot along the way when we let the tech commentary just be like, see, well, it's the new one, it's better. So I don't know. Well, I will have to play. Mm-hmm. From Nick Gay. Is that why your podcast pre roll has a potato scratch test? So, if you guys haven't seen my review of the yam, I think you've missed some of the hardest hitting investigative durability commentary on potatoes that has ever been demonstrated on the internet. If you go to youtube.com/slash Juan Bagnell or youtube.com/slash at some gadget guy and you look up YAM, YAM, there is a special guest appearance by a durability reviewer in the middle of my YAM review because I didn't feel like I was qualified to do the full breakdown on durability testing for a YAM. So I brought in a heavy hitter who's really good at doing this kind of durability testing. And if you want, you can see you can see his work in torture testing a YAM if that's the kind of produce, the durability you expect of your vegetables. So yeah, it's I feel like it's really important stuff to talk about. Oh, from Mike. Exactly. I don't enjoy people destroying their tech. Like, I've never thought it was interesting. Like, I got to go to an Oppo manufacturing facility in Shenzhen, and when you see just the incredible infrastructure required to build the phone that rests in your pocket, it's kind of humbling. There's an incredible amount of human labor, robotics labor, infrastructure, design, like all of the stuff that really goes into it. And you feel so small when you're on the factory floor, and there's just an army of humans, part after part after part after part, putting everything together, moving the next phone down the line, part after part after part. And you're like, man, to then get one of those and then just like, let me drop it on concrete. See, it failed my drop test because I'm not scientifically conducting a drop test. So you get through that and you see the incredible industry, just the enormity of the machine. And then they take you to a little alcove where they themselves are pulling phones off of their own manufacturing line to do their durability testing, controlled drops, flex tests, bend tests. Let me tell you, it's a lot different when you see someone like trying to flex it with their hands, and then you see the machines that are putting pressure points in exactly the same place on every phone to test the different durabilities. And you're like, well, this is a bad joke. When a YouTuber is doing this with a sample size of one product or one example of one product, it's bad comedy. Like, it's a joke. You see what these companies actually, I wish they would give us more insight into that durability testing. They take like a bunch of phones, chuck them in this like tumbler, and then see like, well, how many of them survived? We know the durability of this. Curved screens do that. Flat sides do this. We've got all this data. Share this data. And I think consumers would actually appreciate the costs that go into destroying your own products to make sure your assembly line is living up to the standards that you need for producing that product. You're not going to get a sense of that with one dude sitting there going, oh, if I put my thumbs right here, I can break it. But if I put my thumbs back here, it's totally fine. And you're like, what is this? This isn't this isn't fun. Sorry, you got me all worked up again. Yeah, Steven was like, no, don't do that. Let's get into some more wrestling talk. Oh, it's so funny. Oh, man. So anyway, that all kicked off because I have no idea what Zach said on Twitter, and I'm not logged into Twitter on any of my devices, so I'm not going to go looking for it. Um, I think I want to get this. Other people are asking some great questions in here, and there's actually a really lovely conversation happening about some different lifestyle stuff. And Michael Pepper Tech, I am reading through this conversation, and I'm feeling for you, bud. But I do want to get to one last point, just because we are finally getting to that 2 hour, and I wasn't planning on the show going like the full length, but I've really enjoyed these conversations. Um, I just published something. I didn't do like the full opening and housekeeping and all that stuff, but last night I just kind of got a bug in my brain, and I wrote up a brief production diary post on patreon.com/somegadgetguy, and I just feel like these last couple weeks I've been revisiting trauma. So I've been bringing it up a lot lately because I don't feel I've fully worked through my issues and my anxiety over what happened to Southern California back in January, where we were facing the enormity of these fires in all these different places, and people were losing their homes. And my family, we got to watch in real time as we lost power for days, as businesses were shut down around us. We couldn't get gas out of the pumps in the area because everything had shut down. And then we got an evacuation order. And in a matter of hours, we went from like, hey, we're doing pretty good. Everyone's safe. I'm able to kind of keep our fridge running with some solar panels. We're anxious, but it's kind of funny, and we're just sort of camping, to we've got to pack up the most important things in our home. And my daughter asks me, are you shooting video of our home so you can remember it when it burns down. This was back in January, and I feel like we didn't lose our home. We didn't suffer as bad as other people did. I should just be over this. Like, I should just be done. But last night I realized I am engaged in highly triggered compulsive behavior. And it's because of my tech. I have these incredible tools that I never used to have in the past, but after January, I kind of went off the deep end a little bit trying to prep for a future emergency. So I did this I'm really proud of the work that I did with Jackery. I just did a sponsored video with Jackery talking a little bit about sort of emergency home preparedness, and essential home backup was a major talking point for them. And I've got this Jackery battery that's now in our kitchen as we speak. We're not in our kitchen, but this battery is. And I was so appreciative of features like the battery has a Wi-Fi connection. Like right now, let's just feed into my issues with information and anxiety. So the Jackery battery, still currently at 100% charge, running pretty cool, 26 degrees Celsius. Right now, 0-watt output. It's connected to our refrigerator. So that makes me a little anxious. Did something happen with our fridge? Is our fridge not drawing power? Why isn't it drawing power off the battery? I know it cycles. Sometimes it's like 50 watts, but every now and then the fridge will kick up to a 150 watt power draw. Is it having to do something because there's a problem with the cooling, or is the compressor not kicking on properly, or what's happening there? So I have this tool in my hand, and it gives me a capability that I never used to have in the past. In the past, my wife and I would go on a trip, we'd prep the house as best we could, and then we'd leave our house. Would there be a little anxiousness in the back of my brain? Like, man, I hope everything's fine at home. If there's a problem, I'm sure one of our neighbors would call us, but probably everything's fine. And you would just get on. So here's part of the issue. 2 days before we hit the road, because we like to road trip. I really do like driving through the Southwest. I'm an annoying old man dad. I love listening to music while I see the desert, fly by me at freeway speeds. I adore it. 2 days before we hit the road, our area was racked with rolling blackouts. So I had the battery in the kitchen because I was getting ready to prep for our trip, and I had to plug it in 2 days before. And I'm sitting there going like, oh man, we're already facing these like power outages. And it was like, it took me back to January. I think we eye roll at people who use words like triggered, but I got legit triggered. It's like, this feels like January. Our home is without power, and in 2 days, we're leaving our home. And this entire trip, when we talk about like that FOMO feeling, someone will just pick up their phone for no reason and then just try to find a distraction on social media. No alerts, no warnings. We have cameras in the home now. We've got alarms. I've got, the NAS, the media server. I can check in on any number of gadgets that are data connected in the house to get up-to-date information on exactly what's going on. And like this fridge battery situation, I'll now just be doing nothing and then go, but what if the fridge isn't working? I want to know if the fridge isn't working. Let me turn on my app and check my battery and see if the fridge is broken. And so I need something. And someone might be able to comment on this in the chat, but I need something that it's like a phrase to describe the beginnings of compulsive behavior built on anxiety that isn't as strong as calling it PTSD. Because I don't feel like I'm deserving of utilizing that phrase based on our experiences in January. But those experiences in January have had a profound ripple effect on my behavior since. And now it's like I immediately fall into a pattern of behavior when I start to see warning signs like what we went through in January. So there's got to be something. Like, what's just under post-traumatic stress disorder? Like, because it's not trauma in the way that we would normally categorize trauma, but it was an extremely upsetting event. It ultimately turned out to be okay. We were all okay. But all of us have now just been a little easier to upset when future situations play out like that. So this trip has really brought that to the forefront because I'm not chill. I'm not handling this well. I am not in the healthiest place I could be. And I am so utterly grateful to have incredible tools at my disposal, but now I actively have to separate myself from those tools. It's like I almost want to say like, hey, maybe we'll just put everything on Marie's phone because Marie might actually trust that if she's not getting alerts and notifications that there's nothing to check up on. Maybe I just set all this stuff up, but then I'm not the one to manage it because I've got to not keep following down this path and especially reinforcing these behaviors. It's a cycle of behavior I think could ultimately prove to be significantly unhealthy. So I didn't want to end on like a massive bummer. I've really enjoyed the conversation. I did not expect that we'd do like a full 2-hour broadcast like we usually do. And I love that we were able to kind of bounce around a couple different topics and stuff. But I did want to just highlight that it's a unique experience when we're out on the road. This gives me the ability to actually field test this stuff. I can't tell you, it is really flippin' cool that I can log into a home backup battery, get granular data on temperature and charge, input, output, connected devices. That is amazing. It really is. I was joking around like in the article that I published. I've spoiled this whole article, by the way, on patreon.com/somegadgetguy. I used to do this thing where, it was the life hack. If you're worried that you might have lost power and the food in your fridge has gone bad, what you could do is you set up like your ice cube tray in your freezer and you put like a coin or something on the ice cube tray. And when you get back, if the coin is still on top of the ice cube tray, then you know the freezer stayed cold. But if the coin is in the ice cube or is at the bottom of the tray, well, then you know you lost power enough for the ice cubes to melt. So the food in your fridge is probably not worth preserving. I have a battery that is giving me up to the second updates on the exact power draw of my refrigerator anytime I want to log into it. I'm almost hoping for a power outage just because it would knock out my Wi-Fi. And then I would know, oh, well, yeah, the battery's going to kick on and the battery can run that fridge for almost 3 days. So I just need the power to come on within the next 3 days. There's nothing I can do when the Wi-Fi's out. Can't check on the security camera when the Wi-Fi's out. So it's pretty heady stuff. But I'm hoping in sharing some of these types of conversations, it's not just, hey, buy this battery and now your home will be safe. It's also like there's an assurance, there's a peace of mind, there's a safety, there's a security. I know now in myself, having experienced a very stressful situation, I have to be tactically careful about how far I take some of these conversations, how far I take some of these scenarios. There is something in me I feel now can be triggered to a point where I might start exhibiting very unhealthy behaviors. And I feel like if we can maybe be upfront about that, it's a vulnerability. If we can be upfront about some of that stuff, it also helps us plan and strategize and learn from others. So if you can learn from me on some of the things what not to do, then I feel my channel will be even a little bit more successful than it already is. Sorry, I do have some great comments here. We're gonna get these, and then we'll wrap up this show. But let me. I've got to scroll back up. Oh man, what I wouldn't give to have this kind of a setup. WX Romer, we have an 8 kilowatt generator and a transfer switch now after Helena in North Carolina. we're working with our condo, and I'm trying to talk to some of our other neighbors about maybe finding other strategies to deploy solar, to look at home battery backups, things like that, that I think would help the entire condo, the entire like HOA. But yeah, I mean, I wish I could just go full bore. I'd really love to do solar and whole home backup. Excuse me, in one go. Yeah, Simon says hypno. I kind of clicked on that word too. Catastrophization. I don't know how to pronounce that. Again, I am sort of looking for catastrophe where maybe there isn't one to handle. From KMK, I'm absolutely stuck in a fight or flight mode. And WX Romer are following that up one. You are now a prepper. Embrace your prepping. Uh, I'm trying I'm trying to land on the healthier side where I can prep and then be like, well, because I am prepared, I can enjoy time with my family on a vacation. Not I am prepared, so now I'm distracted during my vacation. Oh no, what if I missed one preparation and the entire house of cards I've built comes tumbling down? Nick Gay's just saying PTSD. You experienced a trauma that of that magnitude. Trauma is not the problem. I think you're really looking at the diagnosis versus where you are in processing the trauma. You know what, that might be fair. I am in between therapists, so I am doing a lot of my own sort of daily maintenance mental health therapy, and it's probably past due for me to get a new therapist and build that relationship up and start embracing that that kind of mental care again. Oh, but thank you for that. Nick Gay also says, you're farther in this process than most. I would like to say that after 6 months, 7 months since January, that I've come to at least the self realization. Like, I'm not going to say I'm self aware. Let's not go too far here, but that I am starting to understand certain patterns of behavior. Like, hey, maybe when I was back in May and I was doing that, that wasn't such a good idea. Huh. Yeah, I need to get a new therapist. Oh, man. App traumatic stress disorder. ATSD. I like it. I am definitely traumatized by the data I can pull off all these apps. I love this. Georgie's just saying, one, switch off the tools, call your neighbors and ask them to call you if something happens in the area. The food you can replace, your health from anxiety you can. And again, part of the reason why this gets so precious is because of things like I've gotten older. I have to sit on medications that need to be refrigerated. So it's like, yeah, if we lose a fridge full of food, that's more expensive than it used to be, right? Inflation getting everyone out here. But man, having to deal with my insurance to replace the medications that I'm on, that seems a lot more difficult and a lot scarier to deal with. And then what if I'm off my dose? What if I'm off my schedule? And then I'm fighting with insurance to get this, and then I have to get that replaced, and then I have to, and it's really easy to kind of spiral that what if out. And that's one of the reasons why like the fridge became such a primary strategy, because my wife also has some medications that she needs to keep cool too. So it was like two for one. I'm helping the family by making sure we have this one corner piece of our kitchen taken care of. In a power outage, I don't care if I'm unable to run the microwave, but I am keeping all of our medications cool. So that was tantamount. I can't just let the fridge go unless I want to travel with a stockpile of medications and then have to figure out from road tripping to hotels to staying with family that we're keeping our stockpile of cold medications cold, right? So there's a home base and there's a product there that's designed to kind of keep all that cool, and I'm doing my best to make sure that that's the cornerstone of our essential backup, right? So that's why I can't just, oh, it sucks if we lose like, some really good deli meats and like some of the produce, and oh, we still had that thing left over. It was fine. Whatever. I can let all that go. But if I lose my psoriasis medications, okay, that kind of sucks. That's real bad. I don't want to have to deal with that. Simon says, Hypno, thank you. I actually kind of needed this. To quote Churchill, if you're going through hell, keep going. Make it out the other side. Oh, man. Legit. Yeah, see, and again, like I need to maybe find something else that we can do. When this is WX Roamer. When we travel, we pretty much empty our refrigerator. We also have an EGO battery power supply that will run the fridge for at least 24 hours if the power goes out. And so I'm confident. I don't think we'll face any significant issues where the blackouts we would face in our neighborhood will take us out of commission for 3 days. And right now, what's connected to the fridge should get us through a good solid 2 days of operation. And then the fridge is decently insulated enough that it should keep cool for at least another whole day before the internal temperature in the rest of the condo rises, because we can't keep the AC at sort of a bare minimum. So yeah, I think 3 days is a really good stretch, right? And I'm still like, well, but let me check the battery right now. Is the fridge pulling power the way it should? What's going on? And that's what I've got to let go of. That's where I need to kind of walk away. From AdityaNL1, it could be something as simple as problem adapting to a serious life change. Lots of people have that issue, and it's normal. And thank you. I definitely need to hear stuff like that too. GM, one think, therefore one am. Simon says, Hypno again, events can't be unhappened. They can't be changed in the past nor in the future, but past events don't have to define us or others. And Nick Gay also following that up. Again, the awareness is the beginning of the problem, is the process, not time. So, Ron Guido, maybe, yeah, if you come back to this channel in like 5 years and there's like a difference in tone, Ron Guido saying, welcome to the JC Bomb Shelter channel. Hey, y'all. Nick A, I am not on insulin. I'm on psoriasis medications, and I'm on immunosuppressants. And the best ones that I found to help manage my psoriasis need to be refrigerated, and they're injections. The other thing is also, like, I'm having wild problems with arthritis. Like, my left shoulder is almost always locked up. My right heel I can't push off my right heel. And I'm getting to a point in my life where it's like, if you've seen some of my videos, I'm the heaviest I've ever been in my entire life. So it's all the inflammation, it's all of the arthritis, it's all of the psoriasis, and combating that is like a war of attrition. So if I'm off a dose on an immunosuppressant, it takes me a long time to get back to a baseline, and it's not as good as where I was before. So in the past, when insurance has messed with my previous medications, it's like I was doing really good, and then I get off a dose. So my psoriasis spikes, and then I come back down to a better baseline, but it's not as good as it used to be. My body is acclimated to what that drug does. My immune system is sort of responding to the immunosuppressant, and it's less effective than it used to be. And I'm on a new one now, and I really don't want to have to play that shell game of, well, I got off a dose, or, oh, the fridge got too hot, now that medication is trashed. Darn. Now I've just got to figure out a whole new strategy for keeping my face from erupting into scar tissue. Hooray. Ooh, WX Roamer, I might have to pick your brain a little more offline. From Michael Peppertech. Juan, do you have a hard time with things you can't control? I can say that I do, but not to a level of narcissism. I've been diagnosed as OCD. I hope you find peace, my friend. I don't think I ever would have categorized myself as having any kind of compulsive tendencies. This is something new. I've always had sort of a righteous indignation. I mean, think about the tone of my podcast talking about tech and politics. Let me rail about the FCC for 45 minutes. But this is something fresh, and I'm recognizing it in real time, and I'm hoping that that means I can kind of talk my way through some of it. But it's pretty wild stuff, man. I definitely feel for you. I have an appreciation for people that are coping with trauma and with these types of events in their lives and understanding. I mean, the understanding is particular that, like, you don't just fix it. It's like an entire process of learning new tools and strategies and mechanisms and coping and behaviors, and it just changes who you are. I'm a different person than I was in January. It's very easy and casual for us all to say that and to say, like, oh, I'm a different person than I was last week. But, like, this is a very different person, and this is a person that I'm a little worried about, right? So now I feel like that should be a part of these kinds of conversations. The tech is enabling tools and resources that I never would have dreamed of 10 years ago, but the tech is also enabling patterns of behavior that might not be great. And I feel that's fair to bring up. Not all the time, but once in a while. Oh yeah, Nick Gay. No, trust me, man. I appreciate it. Nick Gay saying if you were my patient, I would recommend meditation, diet change for weight loss. But you're in a snake eating its own tail situation. Like, yeah, yeah, it's messy and it's annoying because also psoriasis is one of those like annoying diseases, right? Conditions. It's like I have itchy, flaky skin. I'm not a type 1 diabetic. I don't have like a really serious autoimmune disorder. I have like the most annoying of autoimmune disorders, but when it flares, it is wildly bad. So I've got to be really careful about how I let that stuff flare up. So yeah, it's pretty great. Oh, Ken X. Sucks getting old, Juan. I never experienced eczema and psoriasis until I hit 38. Take care of your health. Apple cider vinegar has been my friend for the last 5 years. I've gone through a lot of those remedies and stuff too. I mean, again, I always appreciate, actually, it's just like apple cider vinegar and some of the more natural solutions to helping to deal with that stuff do help manage some of the worst symptoms. But then when stuff goes off the rails, is like, I need the hardcore drugs to get back on. So, how about we kind of let this one wrap up? Like I said, I really appreciate y'all sticking with a longer chat and just letting me get some of that stuff off my chest. I'm gonna have some follow-ups. I had those two interviews with directors at US Perg. I got to speak with Lucas Gutterman about the Designed to Last campaign and the e-waste graveyard. And then I got to speak with Nathan Proctor about some recent right to repair wins and their report. They've been grading companies on right to repair. For example, if you're a Samsung fan, you should absolutely check out Leaders and Laggards Part 2 over at US Perg, or at least just listen to the interview that I did with Nathan Proctor of US Perg. As I've kind of been just looking at sort of the direction of my channel and some of the stuff that I want to do, bringing up some of these other just peripheral, contextual topics, I feel is like getting more and more critical as we talk about, like, hey, what phone do you think is going to come out in the next year? Are you excited about this? What new technologies? And I want to fold that. I want to fold that into some of these other topics like mental health, how we use our gadgets, how we end of life our gadgets. I've got a script written right now, how to argue on social media. I feel we're engaging in really unhealthy behaviors that are trained by the platforms and the algorithms to maximize how long we spend on Threads and Twitter and all these other sites. When instead, you want to get into an argument with someone who has a dumb hot take, great. But there are ways to do that to preserve your own mental health. And there are ways to do that that don't financially enrich the person that you're trying to argue with. So let's change how we interact with social media, especially when we're looking for a fight. I know, I'm trying to talk about, like, let's be really healthy on the internet. Also, here's how to argue with a D-bag. So stay tuned. Now I've got some really fun things coming up. I've got two mini PC videos that are coming out. Friends at Geekom and another Ace Magic. So always got to be careful with those Ace Magic boxes, but like a really good bang for buck solution coming out of Ace Magic if you like to tinker. Oh, I've got the one more earbuds that I need to finish reviewing. I just got it and I'm under an NDA and I don't even have it here with me, but I just got another pair of just absolutely stunning audiophile grade headphones. And I know that video is going to get like 800 hits and like a thumbs up, but I'm just telling you, you put on headphones and you listen to your music and you hear things in your music and you just like start crying because you're hearing this guitar distortion from like a 90s alt rock track. And like, it's so beautiful. It's what Butch Vig did in this album is just so beautiful, and like tears are streaming down my face. Like, I just needed some audiophile escapism for a bit, and these new headphones like brought me right back into it. So I have really pretty things to talk about, really fun things to talk about. I'm doing a follow up on mini PCs for gaming. There's gonna be some really cool stuff. So thank you for sticking with. Thank you for staying tuned, for sharing these chats, for sharing the podcast, sharing the videos. And then for those of you who can, if you want to join up over on the Patreon, I've tried to put more of my written articles and editorials. Those are available to everyone as at any membership tier. If you're a free member, you get to read my rambling editorial that I wrote last night. And then obviously some of the bigger perks are for things like videos and 4K stuff and stuff like that. But patreon.com/somegadgetguy if you feel like you can support there too. And folks, I will catch you back here next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, but back in the Gadget Lab, a proper show. We've got news to talk about. We've got some articles to follow up on. There is a study that I do want to highlight. I caught a really interesting study that I think you guys you'll enjoy talking about. It doesn't have to be like super time sensitive or anything. And yeah, so thank you so much for joining the chat, joining the show, listening to the audio replay when I do finally get that done. And yeah, I want you to take care of yourselves. I want you to I will see you back next week, so take care of yourselves so you can keep being the amazing tech neighbors that I know you can be, as I've seen in this chat right now, because you all have been amazing tech neighbors to me. And I'll catch you back here next week for another episode of the Monday Morning Tech Chat Show on the SGGQA podcast channel. Be safe, take care. I love you all. And I'll catch you back.